Today we're going to be talking about one of the most legendary bolt-action rifles ever made, the Mosin-Nagant. The one we have here is the M38, and the one that I wanted to show you guys is actually the 9130, which is the longer, more classic variant, which you have used in all of the video games. If you can imagine this plus about 8 inches on the barrel, you essentially have a 9130, so we're not losing a whole lot. So the 9130 actually started off in 1891. This M38 variant was really just chopped down because this is already a long rifle, and if you add any extra length to the barrel, it becomes so unmaneuverable, it's incredible. So this M38 was a 1938 model and was really just designed to be used for anyone behind the front lines who didn't have a primary combat role, and it's still not maneuverable, but I guess they decided this was better than having everyone carry around handguns. And this thing is super crude, probably significantly more so than a semi-automatic handgun. It's probably one of the most, I'll go ahead and say it is the most crude rifle I've ever shot in real life. I mean, everything, the stock is this gross laminated material, the bolt. None of the two triggers, I've fired a whole bunch of these, and no two triggers have ever felt the same. It doesn't have a two-stage trigger. It just, you kind of pull on it, and it just goes whenever it feels like it. The tolerances weren't great, and they pumped these out in pretty great numbers. Although, fun fact, actually around the early 1900s, Russia ran out of them, and they actually contracted the United States to sell some Mosins kind of back to Russia from companies like Remington. So there are tons of these stories that go on with guns like this, but I want to keep these a little bit shorter than normal, so we're not going to talk about a lot of them. So this one, no bayonet. The M44 variant, which came after this one, did have a side-mounted bayonet. A little bit of a delay on these explosive barrels. So this has a 5-round magazine, and it is a magazine. We can go into that all day long about what's a clip versus a magazine. This technically has both. So, I dropped my gun. So this here is the magazine, is the area where the bullets go. And this is a clip. This is a stripper clip. It holds 5 rounds tightly like this. This is actually one of the nicer stripper clips made for the Mosin-Nagant in this 7.62x54 rimmed cartridge, because it has these silly little tabs on the side. That being said, this is still one of the most crude stripper clips I've ever held, and loading them into an actual Mosin-Nagant is an absolute nightmare. So they fit in here, kind of, and then you have to grab this top round and twist it around to get good leverage on it, and then force these things in the magazine. Afterwards, you do have to pull off the clip because it will prevent the bolt from coming forward. In game, things are a little bit different. But on something like a 98K, you can actually put the stripper clip in, push all of the rounds in, and then push the bolt forward, and the clip will pop out on its own. It's not a hugely important detail, but just showing you another feature that something like this does not have. So I'm going to fire off a couple more. Let's finish off these barrels. Whoa, chain reaction going on over there. And I think I have one more round, but we don't have any. Oh, there's one hiding down there. It's like trench warfare. Nice. So quickly, I just want to talk about this cartridge, this rimmed cartridge. Get rid of some of the other ones. So rimmed means, well, actually, I'm going to want one of you to point with. Rimmed means that the bottom actually has a lip. Now, on most cartridges, it's indented, so it's flush all the way, except for an indentation where the head of the bolt would grab onto. So that would be right, whoops, lost it. That'd be right about here. That clip on the side, which is kind of hard to see. One of them is sort of in a push extractor, and the other one is like a spring. It's complicated. We don't have to get into it now. One of them holds onto that lip to pull the bolt out of, or pull the bullet out of the chamber, and the other one is a spring to push that bullet out, so that once you pull the bolt back, it will fly out. So one of the issues that this rimmed cartridge presents is that it can create something called rim lock, and rim lock is when you have these bullets loaded into a magazine, and they're one on top of the other, and you accidentally get the top one sitting behind the bottom one. So now if there's a spring on the bottom, you can imagine that, pushing up on this bottom bullet, it's going to prevent this top one from moving forward because those rims are really jammed in together, and that's rim lock. So it's not too much of an issue with these single stack magazines, which means that all of these bullets are single file. In double stack, they're staggered like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. In this one, there's also a little clever mechanism that holds the round not ready to be pushed into the chamber down a little bit so it doesn't lock up. So it is clever and it works, and surprisingly, it works flawlessly. I've never had a problem with that. Sometimes if you load it in, these can turn and jam, but I haven't had any actual problems with that mechanism. There on the bottom here is a little clip, and you can push that clip. This follower on the bottom of the magazine, which is stuck in there, it's not a removable magazine. That's what I think trips a lot of people up. You can flip that open and all of the rounds will come out, and that's a great way to clear jams. So lastly, let's talk about the sights because they're pretty hilarious. So you can see these numbers go up from, you can't see the bottom, but they go 1 through 10, and that's in hundreds of meters. So right now we're on 200 meters, which is maybe 80% farther than that back wall. It's hard to say. My depth perception is not great in here, and yours is non-existent because you're just seeing a 2D image. But you can imagine 200, it's a pretty good range to try and hit things. You can hit them relatively consistently. But out at 10, you're talking 1,000 meters. I don't even think I could see a human-sized target at 1,000 meters. But these things were created back in the day where they were just transitioning away from musket and like field warfare. And they were thinking that there would be instances where you would just sit in the field, throw this on 1,000 meters, and angle them up and basically just like artillery shell bullets across open fields. It wasn't until they realized, progressing from trench warfare into something like World War II, where they're going from house to house, that they needed to shorten things down, get a higher rate of fire, and their combat distances were really shrinking. So before I head out, I have set up this target system, and we're on 252, which means 2 targets, 5 waves per target, 2 targets, sorry, let's start over. 2 targets per wave, 5 waves, 2 seconds to shoot before the next wave comes. This is going to be really tricky because I have to reload in between. So that's a total of 10 targets, but we're going to give it a go and see how I do. Oh, this is going to be horrible. I think I'm empty. Oh, crap. Not even close. Oh, wow. Really struggled there. So you can see at the end when I pulled the trigger and the hammer came forward. Not hammer. It's like a striker. It's all internally contained. It's very annoying. But the gun just went click. And that's a situation where I would kind of be out of luck on the battlefield because this gun does not have a hold open. Sometimes the follower on the bottom will push up against the bolt. What's going on? The gun's getting mad at me for talking badly about it. But the follower will push up on the bottom of the bolt so that when you're in your final round, so let's say, boom. Let's do this the right way. Throw 1 in there. Final round in the chamber, pow. And then on most guns, you won't be able to push it forward, and that kind of indicates to you that there's nothing in the chamber. So it doesn't let you push it forward and then ready it so that you pretend like you have a bullet and then end up getting killed. Again, just a lack of another feature, which is kind of hindered by that mechanism, which holds the round below it in position. So I'm going to try one more time here. I'm going to give myself an extra second between waves. So clear it. 2, 5, 3. I think that range was okay. Let's get going. I am using my left eye, which is slowing me down a bit. I'm having to like consciously aim. It's sort of like manual breathing. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Oh, I've messed it up. I think I'm on my last bullet. Oh, it was so far behind. Whew. That was a close one. Huh. Didn't do so great. 7 out of 100. These mean nothing to me. But like I was just saying, manual breathing, if you just think about your breath, or if you give someone a weird fact about their breath, then they just focus on their breathing and they do it quote unquote manually as if you're in charge of it, but you're not really, because it's done by the subconscious part of your brain. Let's do one more. Let's do a little bit more. Let's do still 2, but let's do 10. Oh, I can't do double digits. So 2, 9, and let's give me a little extra time. And I didn't even load it. Let's go right eye. Try to be a little quicker. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of loading maybe here. They're so close, I might be able to make up some time. And that's not a great way to do it. I don't know how many rounds I actually had left. Could have just been trying to force extra ones in there. It's only going to take 5. For some reason I keep thinking it's 10. I think I've been shooting too many Enfields. Oh, oh yeah, both of them. That's nice. Pretty good. Oh, there's more. Ah! Oh, whew. Well, I didn't have an extra bullet in there anyways. So there you have it. The Russian M38. I say Russian. You actually have to be specific because these were captured, stolen, found, retrieved, remanufactured in so many countries in the Eastern Bloc and other places. One of the more famous variants is the Finnish M39, which is a extremely refined version of this. It actually has a decent trigger, new sights, a much nicer looking stock, and was used by one of the deadliest snipers in history. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Tried to cut it down, but I'm sure this is still crazy long, probably longer than most of your guys' attention spans. But anyways, thanks for sticking into the video. I'm going to try and do more of these VR gun videos. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.